All right, today we're going to dive into the story of Ellis Island. You know, that iconic gateway to America? Drawing on some fantastic research by historian Heather Cox Richardson, we're going to really get into how this little patch of land in New York Harbor went from being a total mess at the docks to the incredibly powerful symbol we know today.
So our story really kicks off with one person, Annie Moore. Picture this. It's New Year's Day, 1892. She's just 17 years old, coming all the way from Ireland with her two little brothers in tow. And she just happens to be the very first immigrant to be processed at the brand new, federally run Ellis Island. The very first.
But Annie, well, she was just the beginning, the first of a massive wave. Over the next 60-some years, more than 12 million people, 12 million, would walk through those same halls before the place finally closed down in 1954. It was the start of something absolutely monumental in American history.
So that raises a question, right? What was it even like before Ellis Island existed? Well, in one word, chaos. I mean, it was a dangerous, disorganized free-for-all, all happening right there on the crowded, dirty docks of the city.
Before 1855, just imagine stepping off the boat completely bewildered, and right away you're surrounded by swindlers trying to take everything you have. But then, as you can see, things started to change. New York State decided, okay, we have to do something about this, and they made a really revolutionary move to bring some kind of order and safety into the picture.
And that something was a place called Castle Garden. You can kind of think of it as Ellis Island's older sibling. It was run by the state, and it offered things like translators, legit ticket agents, a safe spot to exchange your money. For the first time ever, there was a real structured system to protect people when they first arrived. And the impact was just massive. I mean, look at these numbers. Over the years it was open, Castle Garden processed nearly 8.3 million people. That's almost 3/4 of all immigrants who came into the entire country during that time. It was a colossal job for just one single state to be managing.
So if Castle Garden was working so well, why did it stop? Why did we need Ellis Island? Well, a perfect storm of legal challenges, politics, and money problems all came together and started to unravel the whole state-run system. This is what led to the big push for the federal government to take over.
You know, this idea of the federal government getting involved, it wasn't exactly new. Way back in 1863, right in the middle of the Civil War, President Lincoln himself argued for it. He called immigration a principal replenishing stream of labor, basically saying it was absolutely vital for the nation's economy and that the government needed to step up and support it. And you can see how it all unfolded right here. Lincoln plants the seed in '63, but the real domino to fall was in 1876 when the Supreme Court struck down those state head taxes. See, that was the money that kept places like Castle Garden running. So that decision basically crippled them financially. And from there, the feds step in. You get the first big federal laws in 1882, and by 1891, boom, we have a federal immigration bureau.
That Immigration Act of 1882 was a huge deal. It was the blueprint for federal control. It set up a 50-cent federal head tax to fund the new system. But, and this is the really crucial part, it was the first time the federal government started defining, on a national level, who could be legally kept out of the country.
So you've got all these new laws and this new government agency. They needed a physical home for it all. And that home was going to be Ellis Island. This is the moment the federal government starts forging its own golden door, creating the process that millions were about to go through.
Now you have to realize the Ellis Island experience was not the same for everyone. There was a very clear class divide at play. If you could afford a first or second class ticket, you got a quick inspection on the ship and that was it. But the full, intimidating on-the-island inspection process, that was saved for the people in third class, what they called steerage.
And for those passengers, it was an absolute ordeal, usually lasting between 3 and 5 hours. You'd get ferried over, drop your luggage, and then just wait and wait on these hard benches in the massive Great Hall. From there, it was a quick medical exam, then a legal one where they'd pepper you with questions. It all came down to a moment at the stairs of separation, which would point you toward your new life or toward possible detention.
So after all that scrutiny, what actually happened? Well, these numbers might surprise you. Sure, about 20% were held back for more questions, but only 2%, just 2, were ultimately sent back. Why so few? Well, it came down to money. The steamship companies were on the hook to pay for the return trip of anyone who got rejected, so you better believe they did a pretty thorough job of pre-screening people before they even got on the boat.
But the story of Ellis Island is about so much more than just processes and percentages.
The island became tied to this really powerful idea, an idea that was literally embodied by the giant statue greeting every single ship that sailed into the harbor, the Statue of Liberty.
See, in 1903, a poem by Emma Lazarus was put on a plaque on the statue's base. It gave this silent statue an unforgettable voice. A voice that called out across the ocean, saying,
It spoke directly to the people crammed into the steerage sections of those ships.
And then there's this really startling line. It takes this derogatory phrase, wretched refuse, and completely reclaims it, basically saying that the very people others cast out were the ones America wanted.
It became this bold invitation, a direct challenge to the old world.
And with this incredible final line, the whole thing was sealed. The statue's torch became the lamp, and Ellis Island, the physical gateway right next to it, became forever known as the Golden Door.
And all this history leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. This powerful idea of a golden door, this welcome for the tired and the poor, it's been a central part of America's story for more than a century. So what does that idea, that powerful symbol, mean for the country's identity today?